It makes me pretty confident, right? It's very, very flattering when somebody asks me, at the pool or in the gym, like, hey, how old are you? I'm like, yeah, I'm 53. And they're like, holy cow, you look like you're in your late 30s. It's great. I like it. I like being an example for other people.
Hey there, it's Jackson. That's my client, Dan. Dan defies age. He's in his 50s, but he looks and he acts like he's in his 30s. He's going to share some wisdom with you today in this interview where he's going to talk about how he's been able to cultivate a youthful mindset, how he's been able to defy age and look so young, have so much energy, and just have such a vibrant personality, even in his 50s. You're also going to find out why he loves aging and has enjoyed this process. The guy is like a fine wine. This interview is truly just packed filled with useful nuggets of wisdom. You're going to find out how he looks at obstacles as opportunities, how he was able to use that mindset to overcome cancer at 50 years old. When he was diagnosed, he is now fully in remission. So you're going to hear that story. You're also going to find out how he went from doing only cardiovascular and endurance training to at 53 years old deciding he's going to do strength training with me. And in that time, he lost 4% body fat in the last 4 months without changing his diet. I mean, it's just an incredible story. We're going to get into the details of all of it. From mindset to mental toughness to overcoming obstacles and challenges to aging gracefully, you're going to find there's a lot of information in this interview, and I'm so excited to bring it to you. Sometimes I feel like I'm the luckiest guy in the world. I have the most amazing clients, and I learn so much from the people that I coach. I'm just really blessed and thankful, and I'm really excited and happy to bring you this interview with my client, Dan. So without further ado.
Hi, Jackson. I'm Dan Veatch. I'm 53 years old. I live in San Francisco. Like a lot of your clients, I'm sure, I primarily work at a desk. I work for an investment bank and spend a lot of the time behind a computer. I have grown up with a culture of working out. I grew up as a competitive swimmer and swam on the Olympic team in 1988. And swimming still is a very, very important part of my life for a variety of reasons. But I use that in combination with weight training now.
So when did you kind of get really serious about working out? Because you said you were a competitive swimmer. So when were you really serious about working out? And was it for swimming that you got really serious about working out?
It was. I started taking swim lessons at 4, and by the time I was 6, 1971, I was swimming competitively, racing kids older than me, and that was fun. I really thrived on the competition. It sort of defined who I was as a child and as an adolescent, and a lot of those ideals carried over into adulthood. So working out has always been part of my life for as long as I can remember. But how I work out has changed a little bit in the last couple of years.
So before you met me, you were doing primarily swimming. Is that correct?
That's correct. Swimming, taking sometimes Pilates class, yoga, but I really found when I was in the weight room in particular that I did not know what I was doing. And I was, like a lot of people, just falling into these ruts, these routines, bad habits, bad workouts, repeating them over and over again, not making any progress. In fact, as I started to get older, I felt like I was moving backwards. Even though I was spending a lot of time in the gym, I didn't feel like I was making any progress.
Interesting. So you kind of feel like you're spinning your wheels, you're stuck in a rut doing the same things over and over again. So was there a specific event or something that triggered you to then decide that enough's enough?
Yes, I think like a lot of people, I went on vacation earlier this year and actually looked at the photographs carefully. And wow, I am not as defined as I was 10 years ago or 20 years ago, even 5 years ago. And, I think that's because I was really not changing up what I've done. And I realized it was time to make a change in my workout patterns.
So you saw some photos of yourself that you didn't like, and that was kind of that trigger to say, all right, now's the time. I'm going to make the change?
Yeah, I've always sort of committed to this idea of change. I gravitate toward change. I like a good challenge, but I'm 53, but I'm probably as vain as a 13-year-old girl, right? I still want my body to look good. So I realized it was like, hey, I need to make a change. I need to figure out what I can do to make a difference, because what I have been doing is not working.
Why do you feel it's so important to continuously make progress with your body?
I think if giving up on my body is not an option. You see that I see it in a lot of my friends, my colleagues, work colleagues. I'm at 53. I look a lot younger because I take good care of myself, and I want to keep it that way. I don't want to give up and have a dad bod. Too young for that, and it also just makes me feel better about basically every other aspect of my life.
Really? Tell me a little bit more about that. How does it affect the other areas of your life?
I generally work out in the middle of the day. I take a big chunk of time, usually 2 to 2.5 hours out of the middle of my day, and working out in the weight room or swimming, releases endorphins in the body, right? Endorphins trigger this positive energy. They reduce stress. It helps me think more clearly. I'm in a better mood when I come back to work. It's this great feeling that I'm addicted to. I have no problem working 10 or 12 hours a day, but if I have to do it consecutively, I feel awful at the end of a day. But if I have this break in there where I can exercise, and for me it's like a very, very active meditation, and for me that's an addiction. I love that feeling, and I try to make sure I have it every day.
So I know you're a pretty successful guy with your job, so it sounds like you don't mind putting in those extra hours as long as you can have this break where you go and hit the gym, kind of do your meditation, if you will, recharge, and then come back and then finish off your day?
That's correct. Yeah. I start earlier and end a little bit later, and I'm lucky at my level and in this organization. I can sort of define my own hours, and people are very accustomed to my being gone for a chunk of time in the middle of the day, and I schedule meetings around it because it's what's really important to me. And to be very candid, I had a scare, a health scare, 2 years ago. Was diagnosed with an early stage of cancer, and it completely caught me off guard. I was treated for it successfully, and I'm fully in remission. But at that time, I realized I need to make some changes in my life, and I made a change professionally, and I decided that I wanted to make some changes in my workout routines as well.
Wow. So why specifically did you choose me over any of your other options? You have in-person trainers at the gym, other online programs, what was it about me?
It's pretty simple. As a CFO and chief operating officer, I rely on empirical evidence to prove out theories, ideas, formulas. A very, very number intensive and fact driven oriented. And you were my partner's personal trainer several years ago when you lived in San Francisco, and were the only trainer he ever used that really made a difference in his body. And I've worked with other trainers in gym trainers, and never really noticed a difference. I'd be a little bit sore. So I approached you because I saw what you did for my partner, and thought, I think you, Jackson, can do the same for me.
So we've been working together for about 4 months now. What
Yes.
results have you seen in that time?
I think I was in decent shape when I started. I had about 14% body fat, I weighed 173 pounds. I've dropped my body fat down to exactly 10%, and I've lost 5 pounds. I see a lot more definition. I have higher muscle mass, better energy. And this is just 4 months, right? This is not a long period of time. And I have not, I haven't drastically changed my diet or other eating habits. I eat well, but I decided to, as a first stab at this, really try to make the difference in the weight room. And I think a 4% loss in body fat in 4 months for me was very impressive. And I can also just see the difference in the mirror. And that sort of is the best evidence of all.
And how does that make you feel? And how does that affect the other areas of your life?
Well, it gives, it makes me pretty confident, right? It's very, very flattering when somebody asks me, at the pool or in the gym, like, hey, how old are you? I'm like, yeah, I'm 53. And they're like, holy cow, you look like you're in your late 30s. It's great. I like it. I like being an example for other people, and especially the people with whom I work, some of whom are less oriented toward fitness. And, I think it makes a difference to be a role model. And I do feel some responsibility to be that way.
So with these changes that you made, obviously your confidence is up, all this is going well. But you mentioned to me something about being in the gym the other day and some of the things the trainers were saying to you. Why don't you share that story? Because it was a good one.
I found it very interesting when I see friends or colleagues in the gym. I started working with your program 4 months ago. Obviously, I have my phone with me because I'm recording my workouts as I go along. And just in the last couple of weeks, those same friends and colleagues and now trainers at the gym are asking me what I'm doing. They noticed the difference in my body and the intensity of my workouts. I think they're very curious about how I set up my workouts. And I try to, very carefully follow your guidelines. And then I just, I get to it, and I'm not in the gym talking. I'm just focused on the workouts. Most of the time I wear earbuds in the gym. I'm not listening to music. I actually just put the earbuds in so other people don't talk to me. I want to just be singularly focused on my workouts. And now other people are noticing too.
I find it quite interesting. A lot of the people that I work with, they kind of tell that same story, that they're in the gym kicking ass. They're just focused on what they're doing and they're getting after it. And when people do that, other people take notice. It's just funny how that happens. And all of a sudden you become that kind of example, like you were talking about.
Right. I've never been, I grew up being that example in a pool, but I've never been that example in the gym. So I find it very, very fun and sort of curious that suddenly people are taking notice of what I'm doing in the gym and how I'm doing it. It's flattering and also very sort of positive reinforcement, encourages me just to train harder.
Now, as someone who didn't have quite as much experience with lifting weights, this transition that you made, now a lot of people would think that online training wouldn't work for somebody like you. How is it managed to work? How have you been able to do this?
It's I wasn't sure either, actually. The first week was very, very different for me. But it's worked for a few reasons. One, the online training affords me the flexibility to be at the gym whenever it fits into my schedule, right? I don't have to be there at 11 o'clock to be with a trainer. And two, I find that, my collaboration with you, communicating with Boxer, or, being able to ask questions, even though you're not there with me, I can watch the videos, I can ask questions, and it feels like you actually are there with me. I enjoy the program. It motivates me, and it's made a big difference, actually, because growing up training for the Olympics in the 80s, there was less of an emphasis on time spent in the weight room. You know, athletes now spend a lot more time training. In the 80s, it was just all about the yardage in a pool, and weight training was really an afterthought. So I didn't really know how to properly lift weights. And I'm learning, right? The last 4 months have been a real education for me, but I also kind of make it a game and set little goals for myself and just get after it. And, you know, if I fail, I make a note on an exercise for myself and then just try to do better next time. And it's been, it's kind of fun to meet these goals every week.
And I'm glad you mentioned that, because I feel like your mindset, your attitude, your mental toughness, all of that combined, it's very unique. And I work with a lot of very successful, amazing people, but you almost set the bar at another level. How have you been able to cultivate this not only amazing attitude, but this amazing mindset to look at everything as a challenge and just to attack it with such positivity?
I'm not sure there's any other way to do it. You know, 2.5 years ago, I was, faced with a diagnosis of a very short lifespan. And, I could have felt sorry for myself, but instead said, hey, let's just crush this treatment, get rid of this problem so I can get on with my life. And having gone through something like that is helpful. But I think, growing up in a lifetime of competitive swimming where there was always another goal, it's junior nationals, senior nationals, Olympic trials, Olympic team. You just there's always something else out there that I can do better. And I also view working out as an incredible gift and opportunity every day. I know a lot of people sort of dread. I've even seen trainers say, God, I'm so tired today. I'm like, yeah, I'm tired, but Jesus, I'm so lucky to be in the gym right now. Like, let's do it and just crush it.
I love that, because you just talked about how there's always the next challenge, the next challenge, the next challenge, but you also brought it back to being grateful and having gratitude for what you've already done, what you've accomplished, and what you have the opportunity to do, which I think is a very, very good balance that you have, because you're somebody who is happy. You're a very happy guy. You're not somebody who's sitting there and complaining and just saying, oh, I don't have enough. I don't have enough. You are happy too. So it's really awesome to see that.
Yeah, thanks. I mean, I attribute a lot of that to these routines and making these changes in my life. It's you've made a huge change in my partner and in me, and that that affects our personal life as well. So it's I feel very blessed, and it makes me laugh almost every day when somebody says, oh, doesn't getting old sucks. I'm like, hell no, it doesn't suck. It's amazing. Like, don't give up. Like, embrace getting old, but do it in a really active and beautiful way. And with that kind of attitude, I think you can do anything. It's at 53, I feel like I'm 23 still. I don't worry about what's in front of me.
You look like you're 23 too, I gotta say.
It's good lighting.
So we'll wrap it up here with maybe one or two more questions. So
Sure.
I'm sure there's some people out there who are listening or watching this and thinking, well, this guy was an Olympic athlete. Of course he can do this. Not me. I'm just Joe Schmo. What would you say to a person who's maybe out there and doubting themselves and thinking that I just can't do this? I can't take my life and my body to the next level like he can.
It's funny being an Olympic athlete. People think you're Superman. You can do everything. I can tell you, I'm the most uncoordinated person outside of a pool ever. And being in a weight room, even now, I still feel very almost self-conscious. I don't have that big bodybuilder type. I told you when we started this program, I wanted people to think that we were twins. But, I realized I'm going to, look a certain way, and, you can do it. It's it didn't take very long for me to adjust to this program. And when we started, we talked about nutrition and meals, and I decided that in this first phase, I'm just going to tackle the workouts. Like, you can pick and choose off a menu what you want to do. And I thought, okay, I'm going to dedicate myself to these workouts, and they're not extremely long. They're not extremely complicated. The app is very easy to follow, and it feels kind of like you're playing a game while you're doing it. You know, the setup and recording results as you go along. And, I just made it fun for myself rather than something that I dread. And it's given me a lot more confidence in the weight room, which also is helpful. And I think anybody can do this. I'm not special in that way at all. In fact, being in a weight room is something I never really enjoyed until now.
Well, that's good to hear. So last question, somebody out there, they're looking at the coaching program. Maybe they're looking at working with me and they're thinking, maybe I'm interested, but I don't know. What would you say to somebody who might be considering working with me?
I think working with you is different. It's really unique. I mean, you live in Los Angeles. I'm in San Francisco. We've we don't have the opportunity to be together, and we've talked about this, that it may not be perfect, because you can't always be there to correct everything I'm doing, but it's perfect enough, and in a lot of ways works better for me, because I can suddenly I can be doing one of your workouts at noon or 6 p.m. or 10 p.m. It's on my time. And, I really think that, and you're also so overly concerned about everything that I'm doing, which is awesome. It's, I appreciate the encouragement, but I also just the response time, the questions and issues that come up for me, or changing exercises when I need you to, has been great. And it's like having a personal trainer just on your phone.
Well, I really appreciate this, Dan. I think this is going to be incredibly inspiring for a lot of people. Again, I've complimented you so many times. Your mindset is just incredible. Your attitude is awesome. And I didn't even know about that story about the whole thing with the cancer. So
yeah,
it blows my mind even more. So thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate this. Thanks again.
Oh, it was my pleasure, Jackson. Good to talk to you.
There you have it. That was my interview with my client, Dan. So many amazing takeaways. I'd love to hear your thoughts. I'd love to hear your favorite parts. I'd love to hear what you took away from this interview, what you learned, and also what you're going to do to actually take action on to improve your life. So whether you connect with me on social media, you post a comment or something, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Here's a couple of my takeaways from the interview. The first being that Dan has a way of turning everything and making it a positive. No matter what it was, from cancer to learning a new way of working out and strength training, every single workout, any challenge he faces, he turns it and he makes it a positive. He makes it a fun challenge to overcome, something to learn, something to get better, as opposed to looking at things as these big problems that are very negative. He has a way of flipping everything, and I think it's really shaped his viewpoint on life, and it's allowed him to be so successful in so many areas of his life, but also be very happy at the same time. Another takeaway I had was that although he's very ambitious and he's always striving to get better, to learn more, to push himself a little further, to make his body better, like he's always striving for more. He's ambitious. That's obvious from the interview. But I think one thing that you need to really take away from this interview is that he's also grateful, and he shows gratitude for the things he's already accomplished, the things he's done, the gifts he has in his life, the people he has in his life. And he's not just ambitious to a fault where he's always saying, I need more, I need more, I need to get better. He's saying, I want to improve, and he loves doing it. Tony Robbins, after all, says progress equals happiness, so it makes sense that he's such a happy guy. But he's also then looking at the things he's done and accomplished, and he's very, very grateful for those things as well. So I think a lot of times people think if they're grateful and if they show gratitude and happiness for the things that they have in their life, that means they can't be ambitious at the same time, that those things aren't congruent. But in this case, Dan shows that they are. And I think it's a really important takeaway. And the last big takeaway that I had that I really learned from this interview was the idea that you can age very well, or the idea that even aging is a great thing. Dan even said it. He said, aging is great. I enjoy it and I love it. It's a beautiful process. So I think that most people look at aging as a very negative thing, and they think every year sucks. I'm getting worse almost. But Dan takes a very, very different viewpoint on it. And I think this is the key to being able to age very well, or even get better with age like he has. I think this is the key, which is always learning, striving, and getting better and growing. He has always found a way to push his mind, to push his body, to push his life in new ways to get better, to grow. I mean, at 53, he decided he was going to take on strength training and learn something completely new outside his comfort zone. But I think that has been the secret to his success. I think that has been his fountain of youth, if you will, and allowed him to get to the point where he's at in his life, where he looks like he's in his 30s, he feels like he's in his 30s, he acts like he's in his 30s, and he's living life so vibrantly and energetically at the age he's at. If we can all take on that mindset, if we could all look at life as throwing us opportunities instead of just obstacles, if we could look at things as challenges to be overcome, to learn and to grow from, I think we're all going to age just as well as Dan has, and I think we're all going to get better with age as opposed to getting worse with age, which is what most people associate with aging. So, amazing interview. I hope you learned a lot. I sure did. Thank you so much for listening and watching this interview. I'm Jackson, and I'll see you later.